Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com for more info. Email me through benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcasts. People of Distinction is internationally syndicated solely due to the love and support that you all continue to give. We're available across all major distributors, and as long as you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. Now sit back and strap in, because on the line with us today, we have the impressive Frank Paul Hill. And we're going to be discussing Frank's incredible novel, Bell of Honor. It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble. Man, type it into a search bar because it's a lot of other places. Most importantly, check out his personal site, tallertales.com. There, you're going to gather more information on Frank, on his books, hyperlinks set up to take you to the purchasing pages. Man, I'm telling you, Frank has been putting in some work. Bell of Honor is the anchor for today, but he's also written 3 others at this point, and a lot more on the horizon. We have a children's book, Claire and Wiggles, Magical Garden Adventure, Rhythms of Faith, and then Carpenter's Son. Those are the ones that are available for purchase right now. He also has a 6-part series still in development that is called The Archive, and then another one also still in creation entitled Dreamweaver's Compass. I'm telling you, man, a one-stop shop for it all. That's tallertales.com. Before I go any further, I want to quickly take this opportunity and point out the fact that Frank was brought to us by Author Reputation Press. So for writers out there listening in, if you've gone through your process and now you find yourself at a crossroads, man, because, now you need some assistance moving the book you just developed, head on over to authorreputationpress.com and gather all of the ways that their fantastic team are going to help you do just that. And listen, it is a true pleasure to have Frank here on the line. People, trust me when I tell you, the moment we start discussing this book, discussing the themes, the messages to be found in it, you're going to be hooked, just like I am. When I was telling Frank on the pre-screening call, when we were doing the research and preparation for today's interview, I kept getting hit with the famous quote. And there's been a lot of variations to it, but I know you all know the moment I say it, where it's coming from, right? The quote is, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." And it's something that, listen, man, it rings true in a lot of different areas. But when it connects to this particular novel, it rings that alarm with devastating clarity. You see, his book, Bell of Honor, isn't just historical fiction. It's a living, breathing testament to how wars, both on the battlefields and in our streets, echo until someone finally listens. We're going to follow in this novel the main protagonist, Anthony Bell, in his journey from the trenches of his father's silence to the firestorms of Iwo Jima. And we're forced to ask, how many of today's battles are just old wounds in new uniforms? I think it's a really compelling question, man, and it's one that you're going to be pondering as you listen to today's discussion, but also once you pick up the book and you embark upon this journey. We're sitting down with Frank Hill, who himself is a Marine veteran, a storyteller, and a witness to history's repetitions. And we're going to explore why this novel isn't just about then, but also about now. I'm telling you, man, you're going to want to sit back and you're going to want to listen to what we're discussing here today and find those parallels, because I promise you they're there. And this is going to be much more than an entertaining read. An education is what you're going to receive as well. Let's dive into it, man. Frank, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, man, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, Frank. It's a pleasure, man. Listen, we're looking forward to this discussion. Like I mentioned, when it became a possibility to have you here with us, we jumped at the opportunity because I recognized how important a book of this magnitude was. Again, you're a great writer, so it's very entertaining, and we got that. But I'm looking deeper in terms of what can be gleaned from the words on those pages, but even more importantly, the words in between those lines to really find the correlation to today. And I think that there is a lot to be gained. So thank you for writing it. Thank you for being here with us to discuss it. Start off first and foremost by telling us a little bit more about yourself and your background.
I am presently still working. I work for the Coast Guard as a construction analyst, work full time, and this has taken on a life of its own. So it's my second career writing, and I do it as much as I can. It wasn't a thought of career move. It just occurred based on my wife reading some of my short stories and that you might think of having some of these published. And I never consider it because essentially I grew up with autism and I never thought I could function with writing and reading and stuff like that. It took me a struggle and I've since grown out of it.
Yeah. Listen, Frank, I thank you for that. And I wasn't initially planning on going here, but I'm so glad that you brought that up because, listen, not only is there education and wisdom to be found through the book, man, but I'm going to let you take it because I know the archive is not, that one is a fictional novel. But I see an autobiography in your future, man. I see an inspirational memoir in your future because just when we talk about autism, when we talk about people on the spectrum, the number continues to increase. And I think that your story can be monumental inspiration for so many others out there. So if you haven't thought about it already, I'm going to put my hat in the ring and say, I think there's something there, man. You should definitely look into it sometime in the future. We're looking forward to this discussion, and the anchor, as I mentioned, is all about Bell of Honor. So let's go there next. Let's start by gaining a brief understanding of the book and in a brief introduction to the characters we meet. Take it away.
Initially, the story is autobiographical in a sense. The mother of the story, which is Antonieta, is my mom. She went by Tony. She was an immigrant that eventually found herself in Alabama in college as an exchange student and was somewhat humiliated based on the fact that they assumed most everyone outside the United States came from a third world country. The individual, Tony, which is myself as a former Marine, and then there's Matthew, which is my younger brother. We all grew up in Birmingham, Alabama during the civil rights movement. My father was an attorney. He represented a lot of African Americans at the time, and I grew to have an appreciation of diversity. My godfather is Korean, my godmother is African American. I was in an unusual situation being an Italian kid going to a Catholic school in the early 1960s. I took all that information and put it into a form of a fictional book, which is now Bell of Honor.
Okay. All right. So I want to now go into inspiration. Now, not so much the direct inspiration in terms of why the book was published. I understand you mentioned before your wife's influence and really helping that evolve to the current iteration that we have. But from a writing perspective, you said that this is autobiographical in a sense, right? It is coming from a lot of influences and experiences that you yourself have had. But what inspired you to take that and put it on the page?
Well, I initially started writing in 2019 during the pandemic. I had written some short stories, and since I was isolated at home and working from home at the time, I needed something to occupy myself. So I started putting some things together. And my wife was curious and read some of my material and said, "You really need to do something with this. This is really good stuff," which I was surprised based on my learning disabilities, so to speak, that it would even be worthwhile. But I took that basic concept of a Marine during World War II and developed it to more of a diverse, equitable type of book that dealt with the struggles of immigration, dealt with the struggles of racism, dealt with the struggles of people working and living in a blue-collar environment and struggling every day. So I decided to fine-tune the work and sent it to a beta reader who I'm presently still working with, and she loved the book and said, "You really need to get this published."
Love that. Listen, man, we are so glad that you did, because now we get to reap the rewards of it and embark upon this. People, I'm telling you, remember, the book is entitled Bell of Honor. It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's a lot of other places. Check out tallertales.com because he has a lot more in store. All right, like I mentioned, 3 other books currently available. Make sure to also check out The Archive and Dreamweaver's Compass, both fictional narratives still in creation, but you're going to want to check back in frequently and purchase them the moment that they become available. Tallertales.com. Yeah, that's where you got to go. You know, my follow-up question that I want to go into now, Frank, I love your title because there's clearly a play on words here, right? We know that the main characters that we are following, the father and the son, their last name being Bell. But from a symbol standpoint, there is also a meaning there that can be developed as well. So I want to go into that a little bit further because the title Bell of Honor suggests something that rings through time. I think that particular interpretation in and of itself is very important. So I want to hear it from you. Is the bell literal? Is it symbolic? Is it both? What does it signify to you as its creator?
I wanted to use a double meaning, double entendre type of, where you use the Bell family as ringing true and ringing their truth, and with doing it with honor. And that's how the concept of the name came about, because in being a Marine, esprit de corps is, or always faithful, is a theme that runs throughout all Marines. And I felt that the combination of the family, the Bell, and the Marine Corps honor and tradition of the Marine Corps would, no pun intended, ring through.
Absolutely. All right, Frank, listen, man, I think I held off long enough, right? Because I wanted to, of course, start off by learning about the novel and really developing that to a certain degree. But people, listen, the goal here is not to relinquish it all. You know what you got to do. I mentioned it before. I'll say it again, but you got to purchase your copies, okay? That's the only way to gather everything. But for me, I look at just from a perspective of comparing and contrasting, from juxtaposing your book, the themes found within it, and then utilizing it almost as a mirror, in a sense, to today's society. And I started off the interview by quoting the famous philosopher and talking about remembering the past, and those who don't are doomed to repeat it. Your novel tackles segregation, it tackles immigration, and even talks about post-war trauma, issues that are still just raging today. And almost in more recent times, not to get political, but especially with this current administration, it almost seems like it's being inflamed at the moment. From your perspective, what are some of the lessons from Anthony's stories that feel most urgent for 2025?
Perseverance. Persevere everything that comes through. Do it with integrity. Do it with honor. Do it with the disciplines that you've learned through living with immigrations and families and people, walking a mile in someone else's shoes.
Love that.
That's tolerance. If we had a little bit more tolerance of the differences in people, we'd understand them much better and get along in this world as we should.
Frank, listen, man, you said a mouthful there. And one of my final questions as we close out of here, man, as an artist myself, I truly believe wholeheartedly in art and how art can be utilized as such a wonderful tool to, like you said, to utilize as a way of persevering, to utilize as a way of learning things. And from my perspective, I oftentimes think that it's almost easier to digest certain events, certain traumatic instances through a fiction that you're watching play out rather than reality. It's almost easier to cope with. I want to now pose it towards you, man. As an author, do you see books like yours as weapons against this almost historical amnesia? And how do you feel fiction can wake us up faster than simply facts alone?
Facts have a way of becoming hardened. There's very little gray area, where fiction is all gray area, in my interpretation.
Yeah.
That we can learn from the gray area. In other words, instead of looking at the differences, look at the similarities. in all of us.
Mm.
And there are more things that are similar in religion, in faith, and spirituality, and than there are differences. We all put on our pants one leg at a time, so to speak.
Yeah.
If we look at the similarities rather than the differences, we would have a better world. Instead of constantly fighting and arguing about your side, my side, why isn't it our side?
Frank, listen, man, I wanted to utilize a couple of minutes and go into another one of your books, but I'm going to tell you straightforward, man. I love what you just said. And I think that message is so powerful. It doesn't even feel right to detract from it. So I'm going to mention the other books again, and I'm going to tell people, listen, it's so much more than Bell of Honor. All right. Remember, there's Claire and Wiggle's Magical Garden Adventure. There's Rhythms of Faith. There's Carpenter's Son. Also, be on the lookout for The Archive. That's a 6-part series. He also has Dreamweaver's Compass that you're going to want to check out as well. I love what he just said. And it, no pun intended, it rings true. It connects to a message that I say oftentimes in terms of our human family. And I remember years ago utilizing that message where I was saying something along the lines of talking about our human family. And I was getting some pushback online where people were against that particular phrase. And I look at it in a very similar fashion to you, Frank. There's so much more that connects us than separates us. A lot of times we get stuck on the division rather than what can unify us and how strong we become when we do come together. And I'm not going to dive down that conspiracy rabbit hole right now as to why we're so divided and if there's some type of master plan behind the scenes to keep us that way. That'll be for another podcast. But there is so much to be gained by that. People, I promise you, whether your background, your economic state, your beliefs, we can have varying opinions. But we are still all under this umbrella of this quote unquote human family. And there is so much to be gained by recognizing that. It starts with this book. It's a precipice to help you acknowledge that notion and to embark upon that journey, but it goes much deeper. Frank, I just want to listen, man, thank you for a story that doesn't just live in the past, but demands that we wrestle with its meaning today. To everybody that's listening in, man, I hope you have the courage to rewrite honor, to rewrite history, to rewrite circumstances in your own way, one defiant act of love at a time. And I want to really emphasize the word love because I think that's key to all of it. There's a lot of hate. There's not enough love. And this is going to help put things back into perspective for you. Head on over, pick up your books today, get lost in the journey, get it as a gift for someone else, because we need to spread it, man, like a ripple effect through water and allow that momentum to grow. You know where to go. Frank, this has been an absolute honor, man, a true pleasure. Thank you once again for being a guest through People of Distinction.
I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. You've been great.